Welcome to the Golf Lab podcast. I have with me here LPGA Tour veteran, member of the 2011 NCAA National Championship team, and winner of countless junior golf tournaments, Lee Lopez, with me today. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm excited. First podcast.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for coming. So I wanted to talk to you mainly about how did you do it? You went from Whittier,
Right.
where the girls are prettier, they say, to UCLA. And then the LPGA Tour. So give me a brief rundown. What happened? How did you do that?
Honestly, it was really random looking back on it now. My dad was working for a company back in the day, it was called BF Goodrich. And they started kind of this co-worker bonding post-work experiences. They were doing bowling and then other things. Eventually it led to golf. And I think part of it too was the time, right? The time that it takes to play golf. So it became a family thing. He'd be done with work. My mom and I would head out with him. And I think it worked out super great that everybody that he was playing with were beginners. So they didn't really mind a 5-year-old kid running around or attached to his leg and kind of hanging out with everybody else. So I kind of learned alongside with him. And then from there on, he signed me up for little events here and there. We did like parent-child tournaments at La Mirada Golf Course, things like that. And then eventually we heard about this par 3 junior league at Hartwell Golf Course in Long Beach. And that was really the beginning of everything, because from there we were meeting other junior players, other parents. And, you know, I think a year or so goes by playing in this. It was every Friday afternoon after school. And then we learned, you know, that there are a bunch of other events that we could be playing in and start working towards. And then I think somebody really mentioned to my dad, hey, did you know there are college golf scholarships for young ladies? And it was always my goal to go to college. No one in my family had gone to college. So that's where I think it really started for me.
So how old were you when you started golf? And then how old were you when you started to take it seriously, would you say?
I was five when I started golf, and maybe a little younger, 4 or 5 years old. And then started taking seriously probably around, seriously for junior golf, probably around 10 or 11.
Seriously for junior golf?
Yeah, probably around 10 years old, because I played in my first, what I would call a big tournament at 11. It was the LA City junior tournament. Played at different courses throughout LA County. But by that time, I think it's usually played in the spring, and I would turn 12 in May. And so my dad talked to the tournament director, and he wanted me to play with the 12 to 14-year-olds. And he was like, you know, her birthday's in a month, and this is the competition, and, you know, I want to see, you know, what she needs to improve on. And so the director said yes, and that was when I think I really started taking it seriously. I was able to play in that. Funny enough, I met Lizette Salas. We were paired together in that first junior tournament. So from there on, I think that's when I was really like, okay, I need to get better. You know, I'm sure I was younger than everybody else in that golf tournament, but it was the time, I think, to really start working on my game, and I got excited and motivated to play in more tournaments.
So you said, I think I need to get better.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Well, at the time, we were practicing quite a bit already, right?
What's that mean?
So for us, it meant every day after school, we'd be heading out to the driving range, maybe hitting...
This is you and your dad?
My dad and I, yeah. We'd be hitting a bucket of balls, maybe 2, chipping and putting. Every now and then, maybe once a week, we would play like a Twilight 9, just the two of us. And then after playing in the tournament, you know, it was 3 days. 3 days, you played 18, and then there was a cut, and then you played out on Monday. And I think missing that cut at that LA City was huge, because I realized, okay, you know, it takes a lot to play well over a period of 3 straight rounds, right? Which usually junior tournaments that I'd been used to before, you just play 1 round of golf, right? Or you'd play 9 holes. So I started playing more and doing more on-course work.
Gotcha.
So what I would do is after school, I'd hit balls, and then we'd head out and maybe just head out to 2 or 3 holes. And I would hit drives, I'd be hitting approach shots, working on short game. And then on the weekends, if my dad had plans to play golf, he would take me out there and I would practice for his whole round. I would just chip and putt for the 5 hours that he was playing golf. And then when he would get done, then he and I would go out and maybe play 9 or, hit balls. So I was out there every day.
Countless hours. Every day for countless hours, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how long till you saw the results? What did the results look like for you?
I would say maybe a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
A year or two. By the time I was 13, 14, I started winning junior events. So from, say, end of 11th year to, 13, 14. And so, I mean, when you look at it, you're like, okay, well, 2 years is kind of a short time, right? Especially when you're not at that age, it's or when you're at our age, you think 2 years is a really short time. But when you're 12 and you're practicing every single day and you're still playing in tournaments, it was a little hard to not, right? It was challenging to not get discouraged or to think like, wow, this is a lot of practice and, when am I going to win a tournament? And it was almost like those small little steps throughout the weeks, throughout the months, throughout the years, it almost, you eventually put the pieces together, but you have to be willing to chip away. And I think I learned a lot from those 2 years about patience and just also you get to see the improvements when you're working on it day in and day out. You really see those small improvements, right? It's not this massive jump right away, but in a month, you're chipping it closer to the hole and all of a sudden you're making more par saves, right? Because you're chipping it closer to the hole. Or I remember struggling to get out of bunkers, which is funny because bunkers are my favorite now and I absolutely love bunker shots. So I'd be so scared to hit in a bunker when I was 12. I was like, who knows what I'm going to shoot if I hit it in this bunker. And I'm 14 years old and I don't even see bunkers anymore now after 2 years of working on my short game, because not only was I getting it out, but I was getting it pretty close to the hole. And just those little things, they really add up to scoring lower.
For sure.
Yeah.
What tournaments were you playing back then, in the very beginning?
The very beginning, so I did the LA City kind of local junior tournaments, and then I played SCPGA Tour, a lot of SCPGA. By the time I would say 14, I had worked my way into Toyota Tour Cup. Played Toyota Tour Cup, played on the Jags Tour as well. So SCPGA, Jags, Toyota Tour Cup, and then I believe I was a freshman in high school when I started getting some AJGAs or aspiring to AJGAs.
Yeah.
And I was also doing USGA qualifiers, which I'm glad I started at such a young age because they set up those qualifiers a little tougher than the junior tournaments that you're used to playing. And I think one thing that I hadn't really realized we were doing well, and by I mean my dad and I, because he was the only one that I was really out there playing and practicing with, I was always playing for the blue tees, always. And so, I'm 12 years old, I can't reach any of the par 4s in 2, right? But then I go play my junior tournaments and they're easier, right?
Yeah.
It's shorter. Yeah. I'm not hitting 3-wood into every par 4.
Yep.
And you fast forward 5 years and all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, that's why your short game is better, because you're having to get up and down all the time. And to us, it just worked logistically, right? It's nice if you're on the same tees.
Yeah, playing the same tees as the guy with you. Yep.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think we were just doing it because it was just like, okay, well, here we are, and we're going to tee it up from here. And par 3s, right? I was used to having 200 on par 3s, hitting tons of woods and hybrids, and just chipping all the time. So I think that was really helpful, because by the time I was, 15, now I'm playing AJGAs and USGA qualifiers, and the courses are tougher than my junior tournaments, but not such a drastic change from everyday weekend golf with my dad, right? Yeah. And then at that point too, when I started playing in those bigger events, we were looking for a coach for really to see where I could grow in my golf game. I think at that point my dad wanted to grow in his knowledge, and he kind of felt like he had taken me as far as he could. So we were looking for a coach, and one of our friends suggested Bob Laskin. He was where was he at the time? I think he might have actually just started at Arroyo.
Okay.
But years before, he was at Westridge, which would have been a
Right down the street.
Yeah, 15-minute drive for us. But so we went out to Arroyo, and he was just so great. And so I started working with Bobby around being a freshman in high school, and
you still work with Bobby.
I still work with Bobby.
How often did you see Bobby?
He's the best. So I went, started maybe twice a month when I first started seeing him, and then quickly realized that's not enough, right? So we were investing time to go out there. I think after the first few months, I think we were going out there to see him once a week.
Okay.
And it just became part of my
Routine,
schedule. Yeah, whenever he was available, we'd try to go once a week, and it was huge because he was able to really, I mean, when you work with somebody for such a long time, they get to know you as a person, right? And it makes, then you fast forward into professional golf, because that time spent together, simple text messages, and we just get
things figured out.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so lucky that we had that relationship going, and he just, he's so patient, so positive, and really, I think really stuck with what needed to get better, and also was always really encouraging. So I think that was so key to those junior golf years, especially as I was starting to get into bigger events, starting to win tournaments, and started to think about college.
So, perfect segue. How'd you get there? So you're in junior golf, you're playing junior golf, you're winning tournaments. What did recruitment look like for you, and what schools were you looking at? Where did you have a dream school, or what happened?
Yeah, recruitment was interesting. We had no idea what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
No one had done it before. I mean, let alone play sports in college in my family. So, I think because we had no idea what to do, we focused on the things that we could control, which was get better at golf. It made sense to us. Hey, if I can play better, get better, improve, month to month, year to year, well, that should be good, right? Like, we just kind of were a little bit more process oriented, I think, in regards to my own personal golf game. And I think that ended up being such a long-term gift in a way. We didn't really get distracted with many other things because we didn't know there were other things to get distracted with. So I was really able to put in my time to my game. And we started talking to other parents, and that was helpful because they all told us, hey, you got to continue playing in tournaments.
Yeah.
Coaches will be at these tournaments, and that's where you'll get them to see you play, and that's what you want them to see. You want them to come out and watch you play. And so we tried to do that. What was really helpful was knowing that I needed to play in as many AJGA tournaments as I could. USGAs at the time were huge. I had girls that were going to college at the same time I would be, playing in USAMs, winning USAMs, playing in US Opens. So trying to do that, trying to get my game better so that I could get into those events and hopefully do well when somebody was out there trying to recruit players. I didn't really have a dream school. I always knew I wanted to stay local. I did visit out-of-state schools. I think I visited Ohio State, and we were there for like a AJGA Rolex Girls or something, so it worked out great. But I think as a SoCal girl, it was really hard for me personally to think of playing winter golf in a place.
Or not playing winter golf.
Winter golf
Yeah.
in a place like Ohio.
Yeah.
So, but the university was amazing, and I'm glad I took those visits because I think I realized, okay, well, this is special, right? That when you tour college campuses, I think you get motivated to you see your future, right? You're like, hey, this could be me. You see all those students, and so that was cool. I'm glad we took the time to do that. I visited Arizona. I think Arizona would have been the furthest away I would have gotten from SoCal. And then I ended up not getting recruited to anywhere local really that I really wanted. I would have loved from the beginning to play for, you know, UCLA or kind of I had my heart set on just like a really big golf program.
Yeah.
I think that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to play for a competitive team, and by that time, kind of junior year of high school, professional golf was something I was beginning to think about. So to me, it made sense to try to go to a university that had players that were playing on the LPGA Tour. Yeah. So it was a little bit of it went by a lot faster than I thought.
Yeah.
You know, as a freshman, people are starting to ask you where you want to go to college. And I was kind of like, oh, well, I don't know. And then all of a sudden you're a junior and having to make those decisions. So it went by way faster than I thought. But I think just focusing on trying to get better through those years, and then trying to get into the events where I knew college coaches would be out there recruiting, and then take those visits. That's what it looked like for me.
So how did you end up where you were at?
Yeah,
and where were you at?
So I ended up at Long Beach State, and it worked great locally. Mm-hmm. I really liked that. It wasn't super out of my comfort zone, which was, I think, something that I struggled with when I was younger, was mm-hmm. really getting out of my comfort zone. And to me, I was almost, you know, like, I felt like I had played better to be at a top program more mm-hmm. so, but you know, there's what you feel, and then there's your situation, and it didn't matter what I thought at that time, right? We were offered a full ride scholarship to Long Beach State. I was offered other scholarships, but they weren't full rides. And so here I was, hey, I can go to college for free, play on a good team, stay close to home, stay in Southern California, right? I can improve that way. And I went out there, and the girls on the team were amazing. I had so much fun. And, you know, it was a semester school, so it wasn't drastic change from high school to go into a semester school. And I played really well that first year. And about halfway through, maybe we were heading into postseason. I think I was already getting looked at for like freshman of the year for Big West, and we were really wanting to get Long Beach State to go to regionals and nationals and all that kind of good stuff, which was huge at the time for that team.
Yeah.
And I think it helped that I had just like really great teammates who also were excited about our progress and kind of, you know, what we could do as a team. And we did. We ended up winning our conference championship, super fun. And so that qualified us into regionals. And we didn't get out of regionals. So that was a big bummer. And shortly after that, I started thinking that it wasn't going to be the place for me if I wanted to really get to the next level.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I could stay, and it would be a lot of the things would have to be done individually. I didn't really feel like it was going to be, you know, I felt like I needed tougher courses to play on and better strengths of fields if I was going to be able to make a career out of playing golf.
And somehow you ended up at UCLA.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I think I was one of Carrie's and Alicia's first transfers, maybe second.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back now, I feel like as a transfer student, you almost have that extra, I don't know if it's motivation or want or whatever you want to call it, but you kind of want to prove to your coaches that they made a good choice. I was just, I went not just golf-wise, academically too, right? To go from a semester school at Long Beach State to a quarter system at UCLA, super challenging. I was a redshirt that first year at UCLA, so I think that gave me time to make those adjustments, and then also kind of get used to a whole new schedule. It was way more rigorous than I had been used to at Long Beach State, and at UCLA, everything was a little bit more just more more of everything, workouts, practicing, and I mean, we were so lucky there because we were playing incredible golf courses that most people never get to play in a lifetime. And not only are they just top courses in our state, but they're also so different from each other. So, you know, like Mountain Gate is super different from Brentwood. Okay. And Brentwood is so different from Wilshire, and Wilshire to Hillcrest, and Hillcrest to Bel Air. So to get an opportunity to work on your game at places like that and go somewhere different every single day, I mean, you can't beat it. The fact that they have so many places where their student athletes can work on their games is pretty incredible. So I think that was a big difference too, that I was challenged that way as well, right? You gotta think of different shots here and there to get your way through those courses.
What was the competition like? Was there a change from Long Beach to UCLA?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely. I would say everyone on our team was a little better than everybody on their team, really. Every aspect of their game, you know, everybody drove it a little better. Everybody's ball striking was better. Everybody's short game was better. Everybody's putting was better. And then we learned a lot about course management from Carrie and Alicia. We did. Everything was, I mean, we had stats, just so many different things to give you ways where you could work on your game. And then the girls there, a lot of their goals aligned with mine, which, I mean, I think is every college coach's dream.
I'm sure, yeah.
You know, you get a bunch of girls out there who really are interested in playing professional golf. You're going to get yourself a pretty solid team.
So you had 3 more years of athletic eligibility there. So how did that go? How'd you guys do?
We did good. We did really good.
Understatement of the century. Continue. How good?
We did super good. We won a ton. And the first year that, 2011. So 2011 was the first year that I was able to play for UCLA. Redshirted in the season of 10 and then played in 2011. And I mean, we had probably 7 girls who could easily play 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. You know, that's how deep that whole team was. And I'll never forget it. One of the players, my teammates who didn't qualify for that NCAA championship, she won the USGA Public Links like a month later.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how good all those girls were. And so we won the national championship back in 2011. Complete highlight for sure for everybody. I think everybody looks back on that as just the best week ever. And you know what? I still, even after playing on the LPGA Tour, I don't think I've been as nervous as I was playing in that national championship. I mean, I was sick to my stomach the whole week, and you've put in so much work. You have as a team. You see the work your coaches are putting in to give you the opportunities for you to continue working on your game. You know, even UCLA as a university, academically, they're there to help you out in any way they can. Professors are super understanding that you're going to be missing some class here and there. So you have that whole family, Bruin family, backing you up, and now you really want to deliver for them. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see everybody come together, everybody's work really got that recognition after that year. And I felt like the last 2 years we were super good as well. We weren't able to bring nationals. And so when you win nationals your first year playing for a team, how do you not think about wanting to do it again and again? So I think we really set the bar high, and that allowed us to continue having such a competitive team for so long, right? When you're not only wanting to contend, but you're wanting to win it, to win the big thing. Yeah.
So after that, you go into the pro ranks, and what did that look like for you?
So I remember graduating, and then about a week or 2 later, I played my first professional event. I didn't take time off, I mean, that's what I wanted to do, so I just dove right in, and I played in a Cactus Tour event. And I'll never forget it. Mike Brown runs the Cactus Tour, and we're out there. He's working so hard to get decent events and most importantly purses, right?
Yeah.
He's working so hard, and I won my first 2 events, and I made $3,000 at each of them, and I was just like, this is awesome. Playing professional golf is great. Little did I know it was all going to be spent on first stage of Q school, because it almost cost $6,000 to play first stage of Q school. So it was a big, just reality hits you so quickly when you're having to sign up for first stage of Q school, especially with your own money.
Yeah.
And seeing how expensive it is. You're traveling, and at the time, it's gotten so much better now, and I think we've still got way more room to grow, but purses were really, really low. So you're really almost like looking at Q school and tours like Symetra and LET as just stepping stones, because you won't be making a living out there, at least not back then.
Yeah.
So I got through first stage of Q school, played in second stage of Q school, and then I don't believe I got to final that first go around. And so I was super worried. I thought I wasn't going to have great status, and I wasn't really going to be able to play the full season that I had wanted to. It was either, I really wanted to play a full season, whether it was Symetra or LPGA. That was my goal. And it ended up being okay. I ended up playing the full season. I barely got into the first 2 events, which were limited fields, but I did. And that was great, because I got the opportunity right off beginning my career to play full-time golf.
Yeah.
Which is huge. It's so hard, I think, for pros that are doing Monday qualifiers and waiting a month to play in their next event. It's just,
for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to get in a groove, hard to really see what your game needs to work on when you're stopping and going. So that was great, and I played pretty well. I was lucky that a lot of the friendships I had made during college were girls that were also playing professional golf. So, we were sharing costs. We were staying in housing together, sharing rental cars, going out to dinner together. So it made travel life about as nice as it gets. And because you're not making that much money, everybody's helping each other out, right? So you're always looking for people to room with and things like that. So it was a good first season. Golf-wise, I felt like I was prepared for the type of courses we were playing, thanks to the courses I had played at UCLA.
Yeah.
And thanks to the tournaments UCLA played in, right? So like the yardages were very similar to everything I had played in my last 3 years at UCLA. And state-wise, we traveled. UCLA travels a lot. So that wasn't that big of a change either, having to manage time differences and things like that. It was a pretty easy transition, I felt like. The hardest part was just now being your own manager, right? You're having to make your travel arrangements, whereas before, your coaches
got it. Yep.
Yeah, they're just telling you where to show up, and now you're having to do that. You're your own travel agent. You're your own financial advisor in a way. You got to figure out how you're gonna do things week in and week out. You're managing your practice. Now it's up to you to figure out when and where and how much, and decide what events you're playing in. And the way I treated my first season, I said, well, this is what I wanted, so I'm going to play in every event. I never took a week off.
And how many events was that, do you think?
I don't think it was that many, maybe 24. So to me, 24 events in a year was not a lot.
How many did you play at UCLA each year?
Each year, I think we did at least 11. At least. Yeah, I would say probably 11, probably 4 in the fall, maybe 4 or 5 in the spring, and then add on your postseason. Yeah. So it wasn't that big of a change, especially now where you're not balancing school. Yeah. So it gave a lot of flexibility to get to events when I needed to. That's the other thing about Symetra Tour. You're only playing 3-day events the majority of the time, so I felt like I had a long time during the week to get ready for competition rounds. And so it's great. I wouldn't change that. I was happy. I played a ton. And I ended up finishing, so you had to finish 10th, top 10 on the money list to earn your exemption to play on the LPGA Tour. I finished 12th on the money list, so just missed out on that. So it was back to Q school. And I felt like I was a little bit more calm, I guess, heading into Q school, because I knew what to expect, more or less knew what it was going to take to get through. So I got through, I was able to, thanks to my play for the year, right, 12th got me into final stage. Yeah. So I got to skip first and second, which so nice, so nice to not have to worry about first or second stage at Q school. So I did final stage, and I didn't get through final stage. So now I'm top of the Symetra Tour status, right? Now I don't have to worry about if I'm going to get into a full season or not. So I head into my second year, and I just decided to do it the same again. I was going to play in everything. I think we had a little bit more events the next year, maybe 1 or 2 more events. And I think that off season, I really focused on what I felt needed improvement to have just more of those top finishes. So that's the thing with a lot, even LPGA, right? The purses are so top heavy. So you really need a ton of top 5s and top 10s, mostly top 5s or wins if you're going to get your tour card. You could play consistent all year, make a bunch of cuts, but if you never break into a top 5 or top 10, you're not going to come close. So
what were those areas of your game that you felt like you needed to address, and how did you do that?
So I really felt like I just needed better proximity to the hole with my approach shots.
Okay.
So I was driving it. I've always been pretty good with the driver. I always hit a bunch of fairways, never super long. So I thought, okay, well, if I can get a little bit more distance, I'll, be hitting shorter clubs and things like that. And so I started working with Mike Hansen, who Bobby recommended, and he was great. I saw, I think, 10-yard increase after working with him for an off season, which, 10 yards.
Big difference.
It's the difference between potentially your 7-iron and your 9-iron, really. So I did that, and then I also focused on, all right, well, if I'm going to be having more of the 120 to 160, then I did a lot of practice with, say, 8-iron to 4 hybrid.
Okay.
A lot. So I was out on the golf course hitting tons of approach shots, and I really just stepped up the work that I was doing with my wedges. I was doing a lot of work from 40 yards to 90 yards, and I set a goal to have my carry be within 3 yards. That was my goal. So, if I could get it to 9 feet every time, I thought I could have a bunch of birdie opportunities. And I think I really, really saw the difference in my scoring because my wedges were better, right?
Okay.
And then I had improved a lot with my long irons and my hybrids, and then I was hitting the ball a little further. So I think just those things really put together in a week led to some good finishes. So I had quite a few good finishes, and I ended up finishing 7th.
Nice.
After the season. So I was headed out to the LPGA.
Headed to the LPGA. Yeah. 2 years grinding.
Yeah.
So what is something that led during your road to the LPGA was your biggest obstacle, you'd say, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest obstacle heading into the LPGA.
Before you got to the LPGA.
Before I got to the LPGA. I would say probably just this feeling of, will I get there, right? It's always at the back of your mind when you're putting in a bunch of work, but you're not out there, right? So you constantly have that, what if? Like, what if I don't get to play on the LPGA Tour? What then? I always had that creeping in. And what really helped, I think, was going back to kind of what I did in junior golf. And it was like, okay, well, thinking about the what ifs won't be helpful. It's just not helpful at all. And so instead, why don't you focus on what you can control? And I try to apply that to my practice, but also to my tournament golf. I'll never forget, I was playing awesome that second season on Symetra, and everybody kept asking me, like reporters, right after a tournament, so when's the win? When's the win? When's the win? And I feel like normally that would have bothered me. And this time I was just like, we'll see. We'll see. I'm doing everything I can, you know? And I think that mentality to stay super process oriented and not worry so much about, you know, needing to have that win or, you know, needing to, I don't know. I felt like I just really focused on what I could do every day. And so a little bit more action, I guess, oriented than kind of staying stationary, worrying about, you know.
What could be.
Yeah, which it takes a lot of discipline to do. I mean, even though I was improving that, it would still come back here and there. You had to check in and be like, okay, well, you know, remember what you said. Your goal was going to be this and this. And I felt like I stayed super just positive and calm every time somebody asked that. And I just said, well, I'm doing everything I can, playing good golf, putting myself in positions to win. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we'll keep practicing. Yeah.
Have you ever had any physical setbacks or injuries that have impacted kind of your road to the LPGA?
In college, the year I was redshirting, so I had just transferred to UCLA and I broke my ankle, and I was just so dramatic about it. I was just like, this is awful. Here I am. I have this opportunity to play for, you know, the #1 team in the country. And what are we doing? What are we doing breaking an ankle, right? Like, yeah, I mean, you can't control any of that, but there I was just super upset to be in a cast. I refused any help. I was crutching along the campus, trying to make it to my classes, and yeah, I did not handle that well. And I think because of that, I also learned, like, hey, you know, it's totally okay if you get these setbacks. The important thing is how you're going to rebuild to get back out there, because I really didn't have that much time. I think I broke my ankle like right before the holidays. And I mean, I was getting ready to work on my game and get ready to play for them and play that summer. I had a bunch of events, amateur events lined up for my summer, qualifiers. It was always a dream to qualify for the US Open. So now here I was in a cast in like January. I mean, May, June, July were, So that was really hard. And I think though, because of that injury, I really had to take a step back and kind of work on the little things that I could. Like, I remember just starting with chipping and putting for a long time, maybe 2 months before I was able to work into full swings. Ended up being great for my short game, you know, so silver linings here and there, and keep teeing it up, really.
So you're on tour. Give me some highlights.
Highlights, oh my gosh. Well, the courses. I mean, I'm a total golf nerd when it comes to a really good golf course. I remember my rookie year, we played Sahali for KPMG.
In Washington.
And everything about that golf course was just so hard. So hard. I mean, I've never seen fairways that narrow in my life. The rough, I was almost like, we don't have enough volunteers, people. Like, bring your volunteers out, look for our golf balls, because this is big, you know, like things like that were just, the greens were fast. So playing courses like that was so fun, super fun. And I think it also allowed me to not worry so much about the leaderboard, because I was so consumed in trying not to lose golf balls, right? You're just like really staying present, especially when the courses got tougher. So that was super fun. Traveling internationally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I played in the Canadian Women's Amateur when I was in high school, or a freshman at Long Beach, I can't remember. And that was about and I played in Mexico once or twice as a junior, but that was about as far as I had gone. And so to get to play, in my rookie year, I went to Scotland, I went to France, Malaysia, China, Taiwan, Australia. I think my first 2 weeks as a rookie, I was already in Australia. So it was just awesome. I didn't mind the travel. It was really cool to just see different cultures, different types of golf. Yeah, I think they just really, they really test you in every way.
What advice would you give to junior golfers that dream of playing college golf or earning a college golf scholarship?
I think the biggest thing is that if you think you're working hard, so say you're like, yeah, I work really hard, I'm out there all the time. If that's in your mind, I just don't think you're working that hard. You really, like, if you have time to process how hard you're working, then I think that time can be better spent doing a little bit of just more. And so I think a lot of the times too, people get out there and they'll be out on the golf course all day, but how much of that is efficient? So when I mean more, I mean have a plan when you get out. I was lucky that, my dad was there to help a lot of what I had in mind and what he had in mind that I needed to improve on. So a lot of it was very intentional. And, we weren't just like, okay, well, let's just go hit some balls.
Yeah.
Let's just go putt over here. Let's just go chip some. Maybe we'll go play 9. I just knew what I was going to do every day and had a plan for my week. So that way, that's what I mean by more, and also if you see a weakness in your game, change your practice, change the way you practice to see better results. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results.
Yeah.
So maybe it's adding on drills.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's heading out on the golf course and working on your putting out on the golf course. Maybe it's doing swings at home before you head out and then go out and set up your drills on the driving range. And then once you finish that, then you head out and play. So I would say the more you could be disciplined and, say, professional as a junior, I really think that's the way to go. And also to just, I don't know, I think my goal for junior players would be if they approached the game as, hey, I'm going to be a student of this game, and kind of had a little bit more of that excited, like a bad shot is really just telling you, it's feedback. It really is. You don't need to freak out about it. No one's immune to a bad shot. No one is immune to a bad week, a bad season. We see the best players in the world have bad days, right? So the more you can keep that in mind and think about it more as like, I'm going to be a student of the game. I'm going to improve as much as I can every day and keep it to that goal. I think the more they'll see those improvements translate to lower scores. Because everybody wants to play good golf, but not everybody wants to put in the time on the things that are
maybe not as fun.
Or uncomfortable, right? Or super time consuming. It's time consuming to make a swing change, right? And it's not super fun to be on a driving range and do a bunch of swings, right? Everybody wants to go out there and play golf. So, I would say that would be my biggest advice.
What would be your advice to a parent of a kid who wants to play college golf? How can they help? They all want to help. How can they help?
Yeah, they do. They all just so want to help. So I would say find your kid a good coach, a coach that will get them
A Bobby.
Find your Bobby. I do think that's huge. Somebody who will have that passion for golf, who will just be so helpful in all the areas of your kid's game. And that was one thing that really helped me too with Bobby was, so Bob Laskin had played at UCLA, right? And then he had played professional golf. So I felt like anything I said to him, he just understood. He got it because he had been there.
Yeah.
He'd been there. I never felt silly voicing a fear or something that I was feeling uncomfortable with, he was just kind of like, yeah, you got to get uncomfortable. Yeah, you'll feel nervous, you know, things like that, right? Like it was almost like he was just like, yep, that's how it feels. So you got to continue on. I mean, that was huge, to find somebody that will understand what your kid is working on and will understand what your kid feels when he's in competition, will understand what they need to do to get better because they've done it. They've put in the hours. I just think that's so valuable to have someone on your team who really, really understands that this is hard and it's going to be hard, you know, and that doing hard things I think they're fun. But and I think most, you know, good coaches, good players, they also like challenges and they like helping you. And so that would be my advice. Find your Bobby, and you know, once your kid gets to the next level, then really make sure that they're playing in a lot of events to help with their recruiting process, because college coaches want to see you competing. They want to see you playing in tournaments. And also, and I learned this from Carrie and Alicia, is that they're watching the parents. They're totally watching the parents. They're keeping an eye on the parents' energy and how they really interact with the child while they're competing. They are looking at the child and how your kid is with his playing competitors or her playing competitors. And that is huge, honestly. They're watching how well they handle a bad shot, how well you as a parent handle their bad play. They really want to see kids that are gritty. They do. That's what they want, because not everybody's going to play great, and sometimes you need your 4 or 5 to really finish strong if you're going to have to count that score in college, right? And you want parents that will support that as well. So yeah, find your Bobby, play in a lot of events, play in some AJGAs, all the good stuff, and really be mindful of how you're responding out on the golf course, and do your best to really try to lead by example, I think, as a parent, and try to expect, you know, it's not reasonable to expect your kid to play well all the time. It's just it's not possible. Okay? For anyone. No one will ever play good all the time. And so I think it is reasonable to expect good attitudes, though.
Yeah.
Good attitudes, and be appreciative to be out there playing golf and enjoying the day with your kids.
So you've started to get into teaching a little bit recently. How's that going for you?
It's been super fun. I feel like I just, I mean, you know, my whole life, my whole career, I really focused on my own game, right? And growing in my own knowledge of my game. And, you know, trying to learn from other tour players as far as course management and things like that, right, throughout the road. But I never gave a ton of thought to, say, other people's game, really. And I think it's so funny when we'd play in so many pro-ams and people are so worried about maybe what the pro thinks or things like that. And it's like, we're not watching, we're, you know. And so I think just keeping that open mind of being like, okay, well, hey, this is fun, this is new. I'm excited to teach what I know and also grow in my own knowledge of the golf swing, right? And kind of what steps to take first. And because I think I do get excited about helping, and I just want to do a lot. So I think a big lesson I've learned is to just kind of simplify a little bit, one step at a time, and sort of go back to kind of when I started, right?
Yeah.
Because it's been a long time since I've had to think about things like setup, right? Things like that. So it's overall, and I've been lucky, everybody that I've worked with, just really coachable, really polite, sweet. The families have been fantastic. So I'm looking forward to this this other journey. I still want to keep working on my own game, but I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming on to
Thank
the
you.
Golf Lab podcast at the Riverside Golf Lab, and good luck.
Thank you.